Hello, welcome to the Basketball Show with Jason and Andera. This is varsity sports for the internet. Something like that. We're going to talk about girls AA basketball in South Dakota. The season gets started this weekend, and Jason and Andera has been hard at work in the last month, talking to a lot of coaches, especially at the AA level, talking to them about what's coming up this year. Yeah, I tried to get a hold of as many coaches as I possibly could. I got to as many gyms as I could, and it's interesting to go to these gyms and check out practices because if you're going to go just by that, all these teams have a ton to work on because there's all kinds of yelling going on and nobody's got it exactly right. But that's why we play the games for the next couple months. And as every coach says, just hope we be playing our best in March. The preseason poll is out. Sioux Falls O'Gorman is going to be the top team going into the season in AA girls basketball in South Dakota. And let's hear from some of these teams in the top 5 from Jason and Andera.
Nice having a lot of veteran experience back. Returned 4 out of 5 starters. Some kids that'll come off the bench that played varsity last year. So really excited, very optimistic. I'm a Ronsick, first team All-Stater back from last year. Averaged about 19.5 points per game. Certainly a really nice place to start. Just such a versatile player.
Last year, unfortunately, we didn't have the greatest year against turnovers. We had a lot of turnovers, which cost us some games. So this year, we just have to focus on not turning the ball over.
I think we can definitely work on just like communication and talking to each other, as well as just our individual games and making shots.
We're a veteran squad, but that doesn't guarantee us anything. We still gotta get it all put together and get the pieces in the correct spot and just keep working and keep grinding over the course of the season.
Well, both Danica Kocher and Trinity Law were both All-Staters last year, and they'll bring a lot of experience and athleticism, the ability to score. But I think the nice thing is they're pretty unselfish players.
Well, we're all excited to be back in the gym together and playing, and there's 8 seniors, so we've been playing together since 2nd grade, I think, so we all have a good team dynamic, and we're just really excited to play together. And we have some strong sophomores that are coming back to play with us, and a couple juniors, so it'll be an exciting year.
Yeah, I think we're going to be a pretty good team this year. Have some younger girls, but they're definitely up to speed in what we want to do.
To bring back 4 starters and to bring back a good core of talented basketball players, we're really excited for this year.
And going to state is obviously our end goal and stuff, but just growing as a team through the season is a main goal for us.
My shooting, I've definitely worked on. I wasn't the best shooter last year, and that was one thing Daly really asked from me, so I worked on that this summer and fall. Same with passing and being careful with the ball, just good decisions. And I've also worked on ball handling a lot. As being 6'1", it's a little harder to stay low all the time, so that as well.
We'll have an interesting group, a lot of kids that have played varsity minutes, for a couple years, but then we'll have a plethora of young kids as well. We've had 2 big-time players that have been with us, and Liz Shafer. She was all-tournament team last year, great volleyball player, tremendous track athlete. She just brings such just everything. And then Kaia Watson, she's been a starting point guard now for 2 years. She understands what it takes to win. She's had to endure so much in her young career, and she's made her mark on our program. So those are 2 kids I think you can look for right from the get-go, to take the reins of this team and to start steering them in the right direction.
We know that we're going to be a work in progress. We know that early in the season we're going to be learning some things with some new kids, but they're just awesome people to be around right now, and that's going to get us off to a great start.
Definitely with a new team now, we don't know what we're going to see yet, and we're excited to see what we can do. We have a lot of energy. Prepare for us to be loud, our bench to be loud, and us to be loud and excited on the court as well.
All right, great to hear from all those kids. And here is the South Dakota Media Poll top 5 going into the season with O'Gorman, Brandon Valley, Lincoln, Harrisburg, Stevens. 2 things about all of these teams, Jandy. They all have a lot of returning starters back. Those top 3 teams have 4 starters coming back for O'Gorman, Brandon Valley, and Lincoln. And all of these 5 teams really have a superstar, don't they? When you talk about Ronsick and Kocher and Hansen, Janai Ugofsky at Harrisburg, Kaia Watson at Rapid City Stevens.
Yeah, and really the post players in this class are some of the best post players we've had in a long time, with Ronsick and Ugofsky and Morgan Hansen and, just player after player after player. You're going to have fun watching AA basketball this year. A lot of stars. And some of those guys are juniors. Emma Ronsick and Morgan Hansen are still juniors. So there's going to be some good players for a couple years in this class.
Talk about Rapsy Stevens a little bit. We talked about the boys. We're going to be interested in seeing how the boys team is at Stevens this year. Stevens on the girls' side won 19 games last year, finished 7th at the state tournament. Kaia Watson, really good player. How good can Rapsy Stevens be?
You know, they can be really good. What they did in the volleyball season is going to translate a little bit athleticism-wise to the basketball court with players like Kaia Watson and Liz Shafer. Shafer's gotten much better at shooting the basketball. She was just an athlete who played good defense over the last couple of years. This year, I think she's a really offensive threat. And then Kaia Watson is one of the best defenders, bar none, in the state. She can take on any position. She plays point guard, but she can defend any position on the court. And she's led the team in steals in her freshman year and her sophomore year. Now she's a junior. She's not always going to put up the huge points, but just a tremendous athlete. I think Stevens is a very tough team.
All 5 of these teams are like right here, aren't they? Is there one that has any advantage?
I mean,
right now?
I voted for O'Gorman because they have 4 starters back, and I think they have the best player in the state. When it comes down to it, watching Emma Ronsick play, she looks like she's on a different plane sometimes. Just a tremendous outside player, skilled inside player, awesome on defense, always has the motor going. To me, she's the only difference, you know, from the rest of this top 5. Harrisburg, by the way, is the one team we didn't get to practice. Sorry, Nick Mayer. We tried to get there. We missed. We weren't at the right time. But give them some love. They made it all the way to the state finals last year, and they played a lot of freshmen and sophomores and a couple of juniors on that team who really are going to provide a boost this year. So don't count out Harrisburg by any means.
Aberdeen Central won the state championship last year, went 22-1. They're not in the top 5. Why?
You know, I don't have no idea. No, I do have an idea. They've had the same core of players.
They graduated 8 seniors.
8 seniors. That same core has really led them for the last 3 years, including, of course, Peyton Burkhardt, who single-handedly sometimes could win games, but there were 8 seniors. And so Cassidy Goff is back. Malia Munga, by the way, sat out last season due to an ACL injury. She's back, so she will be one of their stars this year. But they've got a lot of rebuilding to do. But Dawn Seiler, I think she's won 20 games in each of her last
4 years?
4 years? 4 years. I was going to say 4 or 5. So she's been definitely a factor on her own. So she says rebuilding, it probably is still above 500.
We talked about a lot of great players in those first 5 teams. Brookings has a really good player in Michaela Jewett. Brookings was 11-10 last year. Are they better than that this year?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I think there's so many teams that improved. Did they improve enough to go over 500? It seems like it with a player like Michaela Jewett, who's headed to Augustana to play her college basketball next year. Another player similar to Ronsick, where she can play inside, outside. She can handle the ball. She can block shots. She can do a little bit of everything. But enough supporting cast to go over 500, that's going to be close.
Sioux Falls Roosevelt won 4 games last year, but they have 4 starters back. A lot of experience coming back. Expect a little bit more from the Riders this year.
Yeah, they were so young last year and so inexperienced. Just saying the number of players they have back sometimes tells the story, sometimes it doesn't. They still are looking for that one star to come along to really lead that team, and I'm not sure if that player's on the roster yet. They do have, again, some good young players coming up, a really good junior class that's melding, but to get ahead of the Ronsicks and the Morgan Hansons and the Ugovskis, you really have to have some star power. I'm not sure if Roosevelt has that.
Rapsy Stevens is in that top 5. Rapsy Central won 9 games last year. Who is Juno Jones?
Juno Jones, if you've paid attention to AA basketball at all over the last 5 seasons in Rapid City, you know who she is. She has been on the varsity roster for this is her 5th season now. Just a scrappy player, goes after every rebound. You know what you're going to get with Juno. She's a great leader, and yeah, tremendous athlete, and she'll lead the Cobblers this season, that's for sure.
Huron has a new head coach. Tim Budenhagen moves from the boys to take over the girls' varsity team this year in Huron. They didn't win a game last year. Got a great player in Haven Hines, but what about Huron this year?
Yeah, nowhere to go but up, right? Yeah. I mean, they have some talent. They are not a very tall team, don't have a ton of length, but if I know Tim, he will get that team to give everything that they've got, and I think he's going to really, really help. Tinley Budenhagen, of course, the sophomore on that team, will really help kind of get some of the youth together and be one of the leaders on the younger end, and then Haven Hines, another junior who can supply some athleticism. But they're really going to need some size and some length to compete with some of the big teams, but definitely be better than last year.
Pierre has a really good player back named Emily Mickelson, 15 points a game last year.
This is my team that's outside of the teams that everybody's talking about
Here.
that I think has a chance to do some things. Toward the end of last season, they went on a roll. They won, I think, 5 out of their last 6. Just got nipped in the Sweet 16 by Sioux Falls, Washington, so didn't make the state tournament. But everybody knows Emily Mickelson's one of the best backcourt players. And in girls basketball, you've got a strong backcourt. You have a chance. Pierre definitely has a strong backcourt.
Yankton's boys are going to be great. Yankton's girls, 5 wins last year.
They'll be better.
Had 4 starters back for Trey Carrier. 3-point shooting team, one of the most. Do they shoot a lot of threes? Do they make a lot of threes?
Yeah, they're getting better. They've really. I talked to Trey. They really needed to get better at making those threes because they had to take a lot of threes last year. This year, I think Madison Webben leads a really good group of players. And Peyton Wolfgram, is that her name? Yep. Peyton Wolfgram, another player who can really get some shots off on the outside. And they're so much more experienced than they were last year. They were telling me it just feels so much different than last year's team. They have a chance to do some damage late in the season, too, I believe. Right in the mix with everybody else.
All right, yeah, their first 5 is solid. That's going to be tough to beat those teams. But let's look ahead to the season. Get started on Friday for the girls AA in South Dakota.
2 of the most athletic teams in the state, if you ask any coach, Brandon Valley and Stevens. And, of course, they square off on Friday night, 6:30 Mountain Time, and get an early season game with a lot of experience coming back for both teams. That'll be good. O'Gorman, the #1 team, starts off with an in-town rival against Roosevelt on Friday night. That'll be interesting, and always fun to play the inner-city rival Lincoln, Washington next Tuesday night. It's an early game for those 2 rivals to go at it.
All right, Sioux Falls O'Gorman, the team to beat in girls AA in South Dakota. Thanks for checking in. We'll do it next week here on the Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network.